Hello, welcome back to Rada. My name is Beast. Today we're back with IroSekai. Immediate warning. I'm gonna keep it short. It is 11:30 already. I got very distracted by a man trying to beat Dark Souls 2 without using this little stick here. This little stick here. Okay, not moving. Yeah, Yamfa is a fucking madland. Also, certainly didn't help that even before that I was just getting distracted because I was fucking playing Star Rail. And I thought it was not that late, but turns out your sense of time gets real fucking skewed when you like lie awake at 8 a.m. and wake up at like fucking 4 to 5. This time I did make sure that the window in my room is open right now, so the cold night air can get into the room and I can sleep peacefully. Anyways, so yeah, keeping it short. Anyways, back to depression. Pass on to the next world. This time it's midsummer. All the inhabitants of this world stare up the sky in unison.
暑い。とても蒸し暑い場所ですね。ここは。
Heat is oppressive in a way that I've never before experienced. Everything in sight seems to be glazed and distorted by the air around it. Alas, what requires mentioning? The sky. Countless rockets are fired into the cloudless and clear sky, one after the other.
すごい。
Oh, so we're in Golgonda. That's where we are, right? Kana gasps in awe as she gazes up at the midsummer
ロ
sky.
ケットのエンジン音ってものすごく大きな音がするんですね。しかもあんなにたくさん打ち上げられて耳が痛い。
Yeah, it's really damn noisy here. It's not just one or two, there are dozens, possibly even hundreds decorating the sky. They fly and fly further up into the atmosphere. Within the air around them oscillates, producing an ear-splitting sound. One of it has to do with the gas that the rockets are emitting. The air is so damn humid and stifling. It isn't exactly the most pleasant places to be. Plus, one of those rockets is using control, spiraling down to the ground, exploding in a burst of light before they can even reach the stratosphere. Directed at those exploded rockets are raining down incessantly upon the ground, creating an even ever-growing mountain of scrap metal. The ground is a disastrous sight. The civilian town is completely in ruins. The scorching hot world is approaching its end. Tiny rocket fragment falls down from the sky and dings Kana on the head. You okay?
ネジが空から降ってきました。
You okay? He says that he pulls like a piece of scrap metal out of her head. Damn, that must have hurt. All it'll take is one small piece of scrap falling in the wrong place for one of us to get seriously hurt. Asking Kana to show me where she'd gotten hit, I then healed a small bump on her head using Shinka's magic.
ありがとうございます。
No problem. That reminds me, I borrowed a few things that might come in handy right about now.
あれですか？
Hold on a second. I produced 3 Japanese umbrellas from the rucksack on my back. Made from steel plates, these umbrellas saved us last year when we passed through a world where there was a constant torrential downpour of acid rain. I was considering leaving these behind, but I figured I'd take them just in case. Boy, was that a wise decision. Here, these umbrellas should shield you from any scrap metal. They're little heavies, but just try to make do. Pass one to Ren, Haku, and Kana in turn. Something wrong?
これはこの手助けは規則違反にはならないんですか？
I guess it would sort of be in a gray area. But Shigura had used these the year prior to protect those and the ritual from a sudden downpour of acid rain. Being witness to that myself, it does create a bit of confusion in my mind about what is permissible and what isn't. However, I'm entirely comfortable with mimicking something Shigura has done previous years without incident. If we trust Shigura's judgment, then this should fall under what's acceptable.
管理人さんを信頼するなら。
Right, though I guess it is a bit fair of me to shift any potential blame onto him.
わかりました。
She then nods and spreads the umbrella.
あれと言いますか、3本だけですか？ユーマさんは。
Nah, I'll be fine. As long as I keep my wits about me, I can dodge just about anything that comes at me. We walk on, screws and other tiny rocket parts pelting the ground around us. Now then, where's the gate located? Where's the gate leading us to the next world? Search around for signs of the gate, relying on the lantern, which has just flickered for guidance. Said lad, it's the golden feather, the feather god that appeared by Haku's pillow side. It'll lead us to the next gate. Children of this world will die in the skies. I look up. Amidst the mountain of junk piled up on the road, there's an old man who mutters to himself and gazes up at the sky with a grief-stricken expression. This world will end soon. Once it was abundant with the blessings of nature, but we have destroyed and contaminated it by our greed. My gaze wanders and I spot people all over the place, standing stuck still and staring up at the sky. All of them are adults. I see not a single child among them. Shrapnel from the rockets continues to rain down from above. The adults don't even attempt to avoid the falling fragments. Just keep looking up at the sky. Even a single one of those rockets carrying the special children who can fly, reach a space that perhaps our species will have a future. Oh, the rockets they're sending up are all with children in them? If none of them can voyage to the stars, if none of them can find a habitable planet out there, then our extinction is surely only a matter of time. The adults look up the sky from the crossroads, surrounded by piles of wreckage, towering too high for any car to pass through. A huge chunk of debris from an exploded rocket then drops down and completely crushes the cluster of adults in the blink of an eye. Our children will die in the skies, and their bodies will kill all of us while standing on the ground. All of them. Their eyes are too focused on the sky to notice what's happening at their feet. These people are not yet ready to fly to the skies. Are you alright, Haku? You're not hurt, are you?
大丈夫です。ここはひどく空気が悪いですね。むせ返るようです。それに騒音で耳がどうにかなってしまいそう。今の体には少しばかり応えます。
She offers a feeble smile and counts small fragments, then begin to rain down from above. One of them bounces off the ground at an angle and springs right towards Haku. Look out! Just at the time, Ren leaps in front of her mother to shield her as a blunt shard of iron grazes her forehead.
大丈夫ですか？大変です。血が出ていますよ。どうかしましたか？何かあったのですか？
Unaware of the situation, Haku merely waves her now unheld hand in the air. Then immediately stands back at her feet and grips her mother's hand tightly once more. Small beads of sweat surface on the small face, twisted in anguish.
ユーマさん、レンちゃんの傷を見てあげるということも許されないのでしょうか？この傘を貸してあげることが大丈夫なら、それくらいなら大丈夫なんじゃないですか？それも規則違反になってしまうのでしょうか？傘は大丈夫で手当てはダメ。違いが、私にはその違いがわかりませんよ、ユーマさん。
I mean, the umbrella is for the express purpose of avoiding injuries. So, you know, making sure that both of them aren't injured is a allowed interference, quote unquote. So healing her should not be a problem. Earlier when she tripped and they weren't allowed to help, it was because Aya's like help her get up. No, she has to do that on her own. I like to shake my head. To be honest, I don't know exactly where the line is drawn on the acceptable and non-acceptable conduct. Even when I try and recall all of what Shigure did last year, can't remember whether or not he treated any wounds. All I know is that I should try to limit my interference as much as possible. We just have to keep going. That's all we can do right now.
ユーマさん、ランタンの光が。
I look at the notice that Lantern's light was narrowed to a straight line. It points to a few hundred yards ahead to a manhole with a its cover slightly ajar.
もしかすると、あそこが次の扉ということなんでしょうか。
Yeah, chances are it is. Just then a huge boom roars as the largest rock in the sky explodes. Come on, we can't stay here any longer. We leave the midsummer world in a hurry. Our journey continues. We've traversed through spring, in a world in which giant's footsteps left the splendor of spring in its wake. We've traversed through summer, a world in which children are shot into the sky on rockets in hopes that they'll fly to space. After those two comes fall. A world in which apparitions struggle to find a way to protect and extend the life of the giant withering the tree of life, which stands at the center of their world and bestows vitality upon all life existing therein. Then winter, a world in which humans have long since gone extinct, only to be replaced with a hyper-intelligent cat society boasting a vast framework of knowledge and a unique culture. In this Arctic world, we managed to avoid the claws of the bloodthirsty felines. We keep tracking, inching closer and closer to the location which God has instructed Haku to go to. We've already been traveling for more than a whole day. The destination is still far off. As you continue walking on, still another linear path that connects one world to another, eventually. Haku mentions again that she's feeling tired, so we decide to stop for a brief break. An awkward silence descends as Kana and Haku remember their yet unresolved quarrel from our prior break. The air is thick with tension. I won't go so far as to call it oppressive, but it's more than clear that there are still hard feelings lingering between them. Hey Dan, I've got an emergency can of mackerel here. Want it? Put the can from my sack and pass it to Den, who seems visibly flustered from being stuck between the two opposing forces of tension. Might be the first time she's ever seen canned food. She rolls the little can around curiously in her palm. Oh, I've got some canned peaches with me too. I like those better than mackerel. Want it instead? Peaches, they are fruit and they're sweet and delicious. She nods with vigor. Alright, hold on a sec. They should be right away here. There they are. Pass her the can after fishing it out. Huh? Pushes the can back towards me. I guess what she means to say is please open it. So I pull the tap at the top to do so. Careful, doesn't spill out. I pass her the can along with a small plastic fork. I assumed she would eat it herself, but she instead runs over to Haku with the can in hand. She then pushes the can into her mother's hand as she sits there in silence. She pushes the can towards Haku. Eat, she seems to be saying. Haku's nose twitches. These must be peaches, she decides, weakly smiling. Haku uses her hand in her absence of vision to feel for Haren's head. When she finds it, she strokes it gently. After that, the two of them begin to eat the peaches together.
Yuma-san.
Kana then whispers to me in a hushed tone. Yeah?
Yuma-san wa kono gishiki ni tsuite dou omowaremasu ka?
You want to know what my opinion is?
はい。それが本当にどうしても必要なことだとそう思いますか？ユーマさんも最果ての古書店に選ばれた命を差し出さなければ その世界は消えてしまうという理不尽を信じているんですか？
Well, close my eyes. Let your honest feelings on the matter. Those would be. I'm being perfectly honest, I don't buy it one bit. Into it one bit. The world would be destroyed, annihilated at the hands of a vengeful god. Can't just see that happening. The world probably wouldn't end, so on that point I agree with you. Of course I wouldn't. There's simply no way that a world would just blink out of existence. Especially not because of a single life in defiance of this so-called God's will. Simply isn't an egregious enough act to warrant a retaliation of wiping out everything that exists within this vast expanse of space and time. I don't have the patience of mind right now to express those thoughts in words, but I have no doubt they're true. God is not a malevolent being by any means. The consciousness that dwelled in that space was one which loved humans above all else. However, that was before the supposed error infected the great library and turned everything topsy-turvy. That's why this discussion must now be treaded carefully, in certainty and in clarity. That's what this all boils down to.
同じ意見だけど、何ですか?
Right, I know it. Not Suzu, nor I, nor Haku have ever witnessed the world have that punishment enacted upon them. Maybe due in part to the fact that Suzu and I have never managed to successfully complete a job in these worlds. Success is defined as us delivering somebody whose life was chosen by the great library of the beyond to a safe location. That entails unequivocally defying the library's will. Since we've never been able to accomplish that, for better or worse, we've never seen or experienced the world being wiped out. So that's fine, although I don't necessarily share Haku's fear and worry about these what-if scenarios. I can understand why she feels that way. Either way, the fact remains that Haku is strongly convinced that there's a real possibility our world may be destroyed. No matter how strongly we believe in the opposite, her fears won't subside. But how much I approve of this ritual, I have no tangible proof to offer to Haku that would convince her that her world won't be wiped out. Nobody has the right to arbitrarily refute her world's belief system for their own self-satisfaction, especially when there's no conclusive evidence on either side. Even if no sacrifice is present, the world won't be destroyed. That's what I believe. But it's nothing more than blind faith, and I accept that.
でも見てください。レンちゃん、あんなに傷だらけになって、頑張って、そうまでしてお母さんとお別れしなきゃいけないんですよね。私、うまく言葉にできませんけど、でも、本当にこんなことが必要なんですかって。そう、ユーマさんだってそうは思いませんか？世界は消えたりなんかしない。そんな予想を持っているユーマさんには、同調してほしいとまでは言いませんけど、理解はしてくれたりしませんか？
I shake my head. I don't know.
そうって、わからないって。
There are a myriad of different worlds in existence, and I just can't expect to be able to comprehend the complex rules and laws which govern each individual one of them. You get what I mean, right? As foreigners, we don't have the right to barge in unhaughtily and tell their people that a particular belief or custom is important or stupid or right or wrong. Look, Kana, I understand why you're upset. As I say, I don't roam. How did that idiom go again?
業に行っては業に従え。
Yeah, thanks.
それじゃあ、決められたことに逆らうのはただそれだけで罪なんですか？
What do you mean?
誰かが決めたルールに従わないということはそれだけで罪悪なのですか？
Hold on a second, where are you getting that from?
ユーマさんは逃がし屋さんでしょ？それならこんな儀式を作った何もかもから意地悪な神様からこの世界のすべての束縛からハクさんとレンちゃんを逃がしてあげてください。お願いします、ユーマさん。二人が どう思っているとか思っていないとか、そんなのは関係なく、二人が別れたりしなくてもいいようにしてください。身勝手なこと言ってるのは十分承知です。部外者の私が何をしたようなこと言ってるんだよと怒られたって仕方ありません。でも、それでも、私は二人を逃がしてあげてほしいんです。自由にさせてあげてほしいんです。そして、二人を幸せにしてくださいよ、ユウマさん。
Grabs my hand, pleading I'll pay the money somehow if you need it. If I could do that, I would. Would save Haku. Wouldn't allow Ren to lose her mother. I would deliver them somewhere safe, where the great library beyond and its well will have no influence. If any of that was possible, I would do it in a heartbeat, but I can't. I can never do something that selfish. The liberators are only allowed to undertake a request if the client themselves wishes to be free. Perhaps that's what you'd call our creed. Perhaps we're just fussy like that. That's the rule we operate by. And Haku wishes to offer up her life. She hasn't the slightest intention of running away. If someone doesn't want to be saved, it's not our place to act against their interests and arbitrarily force our version of happiness upon them. I could make the suggestion to Haku and try to convince her, sure. There's no doubt in my mind that she'd refuse firmly and resolutely. And nothing I could say would convince her otherwise. Forcing somebody to go somewhere against their will, that's kidnapping, plain and simple. Poking my nose into someone else's business.
奥さんが望んでいないから、ユウマさんたちは動けない。
Frankly speaking, forcing them to do something isn't productive. All you're doing is forcing your values down their throat. I know I've already said it, but we don't work against the client's interests. Acting purely for the sake of self-satisfaction goes against everything we stand for. Not that it actually matters, since this falls under my duty as the acting manager. It's got nothing to do with my job as a liberator. I know it frustrates you. It frustrates me, too. It is heartening that they don't want my help, thus I can do nothing to save them. If this is what Haku wants, then all I can do is shut my mouth and respect her wishes. Kana, see her face and say her name as she hangs her head in resignation. Are you okay?
はい、大丈夫です。
She nods her head and takes a deep breath. She lets out a great sigh.
違います。
Huh?
はい、今のは違います。忘れてください。
Wrong about what? Do I need to pretend I didn't hear?
はい、少しだけ気持ちが高ぶってしまっていたというか、ちょっと混乱してしまっていました。でも、もう大丈夫です。落ち着きました。
She expels a shallow sigh as if to indicate that she's conceded and accepts that things won't go the way she wants them to.
もう何でもありません。だから、今の話は忘れてください。
I'll believe her. Want me to forget everything?
もういいんです。
She expels another weak sigh, seemingly in an attempt to rid her mind of all negative emotions.
そういうわけで、私はこのサバ缶をいただきますね。ちょうど小腹が空いていたんです。
I don't believe her. Feels as though she dragged me into some game, forced me to then participate against her. Will you then quit it midway through and pretend that none of it ever mattered? Can't accept this. But part of me also feels that perhaps leaving these questions and these doubts unanswered and unresolved is for the best. Maybe Kana was right and she just let her emotions get the better of her. So she's fine now. The issue is settled and the conversation is over. That's that. Hey, Kana?
はい。
If you take that mackerel, then I won't have anything to eat. Apologies if that sounds stingy.
それでは一緒にサバ缶食べますか？
What do we each eat half or something?
そうなります。
Nah, I'd rather
どう
not.
してですか？
She stares at me blankly.
お腹空きませんか？
Well, I am a
それな
bit.
ら一緒に食べましょうよ。二人仲良くおいしくいただきましょう。
Yeah, there.
何が問題なんですか？
Wouldn't that basically be like,
あれ？
well, you know, one of those, whatever you call them. Think back to the day a while ago when Mia moved her belongings to the dorm. We happened to mix up the cans of juice and tea. Mia got upset at me over some indirect kiss or whatever. Of course, she didn't chuck the can, and the bluntest part of it just so happened to hit me in the forehead as if she'd intentionally aimed for it. That can't hurt like hell. Just recalling the experience makes the area between my eyebrows feel itchy.
ユマさん、どうかしましたか？そんな渋い顔をして。
Shake my head, telling her it's nothing. Anyway, I don't think it's okay to share something like this.
よろしくないとは。
Please don't ask
頼
questions.
まれてもわからないものはわからないんです。意地悪です。どうしてそんなに遠回しなんですか？
Puffs up her cheeks
そん
indignantly.
な言い方じゃ何もわかりませんよ。
So she says. But no, a second later, she lifts her face as though she's just realized something.
もしかしてそれって、
Hmm?
口移しで食べさせてほしいという意思表示でしょうか？
What gave you that idea?
もうしょうがないですね、ユマさん。もしかするとこれが噂の赤ちゃんプレイですか？
No! I don't want to know where you heard anyone talking about something like that.
でも口移すのがサバの缶詰というのも情緒がありませんよね。
What sort of food is supposed to be ideal then?
帰ったら何か別のものでも試してみます？
I get the odd impression that she's not listening to me. With a blush on her face, she opens the canned mackerel.
でも確かにこんなことは言葉にしづらいですよね。遠回しにもなるってものです。
Hold up, you're not seriously planning on doing what I think you are, right?
私はいつもいつでも何をやるにも本気ですけど。あまり教育に悪いことはやめてくださいね。一応年頃に近い女の子がいるわけですし。
Haku smiles at us sweetly. Young lady in question stares at us blankly. How long has she been listening in on our conversation? I have no idea how I meant to explain this. Decided to take out the pocket watch. Why don't we call it a day for now?
私たちの世界の時間は今どれくらいになっていますか？
Well, here it feels like we've been walking for the whole day, but back home it's been just over an hour. I know we don't have much time left, but I also don't know how long the rest of our journey will take. In all honesty, it's looking like Haku might have less time than I initially thought. Considering her present condition, though, it probably wouldn't be a good idea to rush our journey. So there, in the middle of the chilly road and the moonless midnight sky, we decide to sit together and take a nap.
おやすみなさい。レン、風邪をひかないようにね。
I close my eyes, something odd happens. There's a smell. It's soft. Sweet, sweet scent slowly wafts towards me. Right, I'm dreaming. There's a dream. Feels as though someone else's dream is slowly sifting into my headspace. Whoops, Haku's dream. My name's Haku. I work for a man called Osht. Ever since I was a child, I've never known my mother. She was a very sickly and frail person, and she breathed her last when she gave birth to me.
あんたはまるで疫病神だ。
It's Bobby Haku. Foul words were always spouted at me from that woman with a wrinkled witch-like face. She yelled at me. She shouted at me. She snarled
あ
at
ん
me.
たが生まれてこなけりゃ、あの子は死なずに済んだんだ。
Mother gave her life to bring me into this world. The elderly ladies who adopted me and raised me made a concise effort to remind me of that fact every waking day of my life for as long as I could remember.
私はあんなにおろせと言ったのに。あんなに無理して産むことはないと、そう言ったのに。それなのに、どうしてお前みたいな何の役にも立たないような汚い子を、あの子は命を捨ててまで産んでしまったのか。
That grandma needs to be beaten to an early grave. I was born into a family of fox birds who, for many generations, had practiced the art of divination. However, unlike my mother, had no talent for the craft.
あの子の代わりに、あんたが死んでくれればよかったの。そうすれば、家もしばらくは安泰だったろうに。
My mother had many health problems, but she was still an intelligent, cheerful, beautiful woman. She was loved and adored by all who knew her. As the one who had indirectly murdered her, I never saw there being any value or purpose to my existence. I constantly questioned why I was alive and living here in the first place. I believed that deep down I held a grudge against my mother. She'd abandoned me, all alone in a big vast world. If only you hadn't died, Mom. Maybe then I would at least be somewhat happier than I am now. I hated my mother, whose face I'd never even seen. I cursed her for abandoning me to this world. Instead of leaving me here, I would have much rather she'd take me to the afterlife along with her.
汚らわしい。何もできやしないくせに。あんたはどうして生まれてきたんだ。
My witch-like grandmother spat at me and told me to vanish off the face of this world. According to her, they'd never wanted to take me in. I was nothing but a burdensome leech they wanted gone. Why? Why is it so cold? Why is my heart so cold? Every time someone tells me you're not wanted here, I can feel a thick, frigid layer of ice freezing over top my heart. This world I live in is so very cold. I hated my divination training. No matter how much... Why does one ear sum me up? No matter how much effort I spent or how much I studied, there were never any signs of improvement. I wasn't cut out for it, and I hated it, plain and simple. In my heart, I tried. I would never have talent for it. I would never come to like it. Even so, I would sit, study those incomprehensible ink writings day after day, enduring the verbal lashings from my grandmothers all the while. All I wanted was for them to accept me. All I wanted was a home, a place where I could live and be wanted.
どうしてこんな簡単なことも覚えられないんだお前は。これくらいのことあの子は教えればすぐに覚えてしまったというのに。
But all they ever did was bring up my mother again and again and again.
本当に信じられないよ。どうしてお前はこんなにも不出来なんだろうね。
All it took was the slightest mistake, and they were screaming and shouting at me, "You don't belong here. Give us your mother back," and so on and so forth. And I despised it all.
お前みたいな何も取り柄のない出来の悪い子は初めて見た。どうしてお前みたいなのがこの世に生まれてきたのか。それが不思議でならないよ。
It was unbearably cold. Their words pierced through my heart like needles. I couldn't stand this place anymore. I wanted to leave, because I were far away and live on my own as soon as I possibly could. The only way out, I soon realized, was to learn the art of divination as quickly as possible, no matter how much I loathed it. It was my only option to earn a living, even though it was something I detested, even though it was something I would never truly love doing, even so it became the sole thing sustaining my will to live, so that I could someday live alone, so that I could someday live without having to rely on others. Every time they raised their fists in a fit of rage against me, every time their vile insults struck through me, my heart was set on one thing alone: getting out of here as quickly as I could, as quickly as I possibly could. A few years passed, and then, on one fateful day...
どうしよう。
Despite my lack of ability and talent, I had managed to master a small number of divination techniques. I was thus put in charge of a small ceremony being held in the next town over. However, the day came and I committed an awful blunder. The ceremony was supposed to be so simple. All I had to do was speak a simple few pre-written words to allow the souls of this deceased person to travel safely and peacefully to the afterlife. Yet I'd failed my job miserably. I'd misspoken the words and fumbled around the order. As a result, the nobleman raised his fist against me in vitriol. My son will be stuck wandering this world for the rest of his life, all thanks to you. The reason I'll never be able to rest in peace. He'll never be able to rest in peace now, he cried out. All of those who had come to attend the ceremony glared at me with contempt in their eyes. Needless to say, I did not receive the payment that I was supposed to.
帰ったらまたどやされる。
Oh, so we need to, like, actually beat the shit out of the grandmothers until they're in an early grave. I envisioned my grandmother's witch-like face as they berated me and insulted me. I could see nothing but that upon closing my eyelids. Oh, brother, I'm going to be a victim of domestic violence again. That's like, that does not seem like the correct reaction to that reality. As loath as I was to do so, I had no choice but to return home. Why is my job to send away the souls of the dead? I'm a diviner, I asked myself. Shouldn't that be the job of an undertaker? I fretted endlessly as I grumbled and complained to myself. It was pointless, futile, senseless. I knew that. But apart from that,
お腹すいたな。
I hadn't eaten in 2 whole days. My grandmother decided to stop feeding me until I'd mastered the technique that I was learning at the time. Her word was law. That was what she'd promised me. I was forced to sit and watch from afar as my grandmother served delicious-looking food to my sisters and the rest of my family. We sat around the table with delightful smiles across their faces. If I'd performed well at the ceremony today, I would have been given something to eat. That wasn't part why I was so eager to do it. All I did was make a fool of myself. It was a disaster. It was incomprehensible. I received no reward for my efforts. Why is this world so cruel? All my mistakes during the ceremony were more than likely due to hunger. Just knew it. It had to be it. Nah, I shouldn't do this. I'd never improve if I constantly blamed outside factors instead of myself. Well, that was something I can worry about much later.
お腹すいたよ。
Hunger does have a negative effect on your mental and physical health. It's true. But even after arriving home, there would be nothing there for me to eat. Besides, why didn't I have the courage to run away from that place? Clearly, it only brings me suffering and misfortune. I had nothing to lose. I didn't. But I was scared. Would I really be able to survive on my own? I've been studying and practicing my divination for the sole purpose of leaving that house as soon as I could and starting an independent life. But I was small and young, and I could never do anything to my grandmother's satisfaction. Would I really be able to survive on my own without relying on others? I had flubbed even the simplest of ceremonies. In fact, my life until this point would be defined as a collection of countless shameful failures. I was fearful, I was fretful, irate, angry, lonely, and miserable. Those cold, spiteful words that my grandmothers always shouted at me, they stuck and clung to my heart like a thick, impermeable tar.
一人で強く生きていく。無理だよ。そんな
And I
のは。
loathed myself for it, cursed my ineptitude.
お腹すいたよ。お母さん。
I departed from the next town and over in one of the buses reserved for spirits, invisible to normal humans. But once I'd sat down on the old bench at a bus stop, I found myself unable to move. Tiny droplets of cold rain began to fall upon the roof of the old bus shelter. There's no such thing as happiness in this cold, cruel world. The din of the rain almost seemed to transform to a whisper near my ear that spoke thusly. All of a sudden I heard a voice. It was close enough for me to feel a person's breath on my skin. I looked over and discovered that a young human boy whom I didn't recognize was sitting next to me.
僕の昼ご飯の残りで悪いけど食べない？
どうして？
Is that Shigure? I must stay a human here. I instantly tensed up and put myself on guard. In my town, contact with humans was strictly forbidden. It was ingrained into our minds from an early age that all humans were vile, dirty creatures without exception. We were never to touch them or speak to them.
昼食にパンを持ってきたんだけど急にお腹の調子が悪くなってしまって袋は開いてるけど口はつけていないからよかったら食べてくれないかなそしたら僕も嬉しいから
Human boy produced something from his bag and held it out to me. It looked so delicious and smelled so wonderful. However, I noticed that he was holding it at a slight angle away from where I sat.
もし食べてくれるなら受け取ってくれたら嬉しいんだけどな
こいつ目が見えないの？
Okay, never mind, it's not Shigure. Both of his eyes were closed shut and he had a long, slim cane situated next to him.
ごめんねやっぱり残り物なんて嫌だったかな
The most fundamental rule of the town was to avoid any and all contact with humans. If I broke that by some chance, our world as I know it would cease to exist. Even though there was no conclusive evidence that such a thing would happen, the rule was still one that each of us had to abide by. But in spite of that, I accepted the sweet bread that the boy had offered me. It smelled so wonderful. My hunger was becoming unbearable at this point. Still,
まずい。
this was the first time I tried human food and it tasted repulsive. It smelled so good, yet the taste was anything but. I felt tricked.
雨いつ止むんだろうね
I noticed the boy's nose twitch.
夕立か 今日は一日ずっと晴れてるって天気予報で言ってたのにな。
Smile never faded.
何がそんなにおかしいんだこいつは。
He was beaming. Nothing was happening, and he smiled like he was having the time of his life. To me, it was silly. Couldn't even begin to understand it. The world was a cold and unforgiving place. There was not a single thing in it worth smiling over. Yet there was this boy who, in this cruel world I lived in, somehow continued to smile. How, I thought. How was he able to smile like
困っ
that?
たな。傘は持ってきてないし、どうしようか。
Smile was so broad, such an evident contrast to the distress in his words. Something about him just rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like him.
すぐにやむ。
But for some reason, though it wanted nothing to do with this odd human boy and his funny attitude, even though I had forgotten about my town's rules, but even so, I wanted to try talking with him a bit. Couldn't stifle that desire. What allowed him to smile so optimistically? Whatever it was, I wanted him to tell
こ
me.
れはただの夕立。雨はすぐやむ。
すぐ
わかるんだ。
わかるってどうして？
いいから、黙って待ってればいいんだよ。
After a short while, the rain came to a complete stop.
ほら、言った通りだっただろ。
The dazzling sun peeked through a parting in the clouds. Weather divination. Despite being talentless in all other forms of divination, this was the one I actually had a knack for. Granted, it was also the most basic technique of them all. Anyhow, the rain had stopped and the sun was slowly returning to the sky as the clouds parted.
本当だ。雨の音がしなくなった。太陽の匂いがする。
His face lit up with glee.
すごいな君。どうしてわかったんだ？
わ、すごい？
天気予報なんか嘘ばっかりだ。こんなことがわかるなんて不思議だな。羨ましいな。
Something to be proud of. He was jealous even. Nobody ever praised me like this.
別に、すごくない。
I don't know why, but something tells me that that's Ren's father.
そうかな。
そうなんだよ。これくらいのことは誰でもできるんだ。お世辞はいらない。
お世辞？そんなことはないって。君は誰にでもできるって言うけど、少なくとも僕にはこんなことできない。だから本当にすごいと思うよ。君は将来天気予報士になったらいいんじゃないかな。そしたらきっと誰からも喜ばれるよ。
喜ばれる？
Then smiled at me. Upon seeing that, my heart began to stir. But I felt so terribly restless. Such a mysterious feeling, one that I'd never experienced before. But I knew it was one that I could not, it must not embrace. Despite that, oddly enough, it was a nice feeling, a warm feeling, a pleasant feeling even. There was just one problem, however. Teensy tiny little problem. I discovered that I was now unable to look at this boy in the face. I read in my eyes, like it was a son.
これくらい？
何？
これくらいのわずかな変化では、本当は天気占いをする必要もないんだ。
Damn, Haku used to be a tsundere.
天気占い？
うん。この程度の短い間の天気の異変なら、動物たちは直感で雨が通り過ぎるのを知ることができる。空気の変化とか、雲の色とかを見るだけで、何も特別な技術も知識も必要ないんだ。こういうことが直感でわからないのは、多分人間だけだ。
人間だけ？
Held my tongue, realizing my grave mistake.
暑い。どうしよう。
Anxiety set in and I felt the cold and pleasant sweat begin to form on my forehead.
私の正体がバレてしまったかもしれない。
Perhaps I let my elation get the better of me. I'm normally a person of few words, but I hadn't held a casual conversation with someone in what felt like ages after all. That might have been why I suddenly became quite loquacious. I spat out words before my mind even had time to consider what I was saying. Maybe that was why I started boasting about how easy weather divination was, despite knowing how much of a struggle it was for me to master it. I was certainly overcome with embarrassment, but there was a more pressing issue at hand. feared that all humans were terrified of non-human creatures such as myself, which is why they indiscriminately killed any of our kind that they laid sight upon. This was why my grandmother and all the other townsfolk despised and feared the humans. They avoided contact and stayed far, far away. Therefore, I'd committed a grave mistake by revealing my identity to this human boy, according to my town's long-held rules.
どうしよう。私が人ではないことがバレてしまったかもしれない。
I'd truly done it now. What scared me the most wasn't the realization that he now might attempt to kill me, nor was the fact that I'd broke my own town's rules. More than either of those things, it was the possibility that this human boy might end up hating me. How bizarre was that? I was totally against myself and my stupidity, but it did nothing to calm my anxieties.
どうしよう。どうしよう。もう、この子は私と話をしてくれないかもしれない。
I felt a sharp, grating pain in my chest.
やっと見つけた話し相手だったのに。私に笑顔の秘密を教えてくれたかもしれないのに。それなのに。
I shut my eyes, I cradled my face in my hands, and for some reason I then began to
こ
cry.
れからまたずっと私は一人。
This world truly is filled with nothing but pain and suffering. Why had I even ever thought otherwise?
僕はレンヤ。
Renya. That's probably where Ren's name comes from.
君の名前は？
I opened my eyes and looked up. That was the boy, smiling, grinning joyfully from ear to ear, his face as bright as the sun itself.
私は人ではないぞ。
Again. Oh, how I wish I could keep my mouth shut. My mouth from blabbering on so much.
私はお前たちが怖がってる人外なんだぞ。
Why, oh why? Mistake after mistake, again and again. I should just keep my mouth shut. That way he would never have had to realize what I was, and he would have kept talking. But for some reason I felt compelled to be honest with this boy.
そうなんだ。
However, the boy seemed utterly unfazed. Not even a trace of shock on his face. All he did was keep smiling. A smile wholly devoid of any fear or contempt. He reacted in no particular way to what I'd said. His calmness seemed to imply that to him it was simply an extension of my introduction.
そういえば昔ばあちゃんが言ってたっけな。この近くには狐の村があるんだって。もしかして。
そうだ。でも少し違う。
違う？
私らは動物とは違う。言ってみれば人型の妖怪だ。
ふーん。
怖くはないのか？
どうして？
どうしてって。
僕は目が見えない。だから君が人間だろうとそうじゃなかろうと、こうして話ができれば、そんなものはあまり関係がない。どっちだって同じようなもんなんだよ。意思の疎通が叶えばなんだって同じ。
なんだよそれは。
Whatever profound message he thought was laced in his words, it came across as nothing but laughable to me. As strange as it was, whenever I looked at the boy's smile, I found myself feeling warm.
おかしなやつだな、お前は。
そうかな。
ああ、そうだよ。
Little by little, I could feel it. A thick layer of ice covering my heart was beginning to thaw.
ハクだ。
ハク？
私の名前だ。白と書いてハク。
いい名前だね。
Thanked him in my heart for saying that. My name was the sole thing my mother had left me.
よろしくね、ハク。これからも仲良くしてくれたら嬉しいよ。
あともう一つ。
うん。
この堅苦しい喋り方、そろそろやめてもいいかな。
え？
人でないものは人間相手にはこういう感じで尊大に喋るもんだっていう先入観が。
Suddenly burst into laughter.
なんだよ。
pursed my lips and snarled at him.
ごめんごめん。君はなんだかとても面白いな。君と話してると飽きないよ。
そう？
うん、そうなんだよ。
The boy's cheerfulness seemed to be contagious. Slowly and steadily, my face loosened and my lips curved. It finally brought a smile to my face.
ハク、改めてこれからもずっとよろしくね。僕は毎日ここに来るからね。
私も毎日ここに通うよ。
That day was the start of my friendship with Renya. Awesome. You know what? He seems to be having trouble with getting up. Let's let him rest a little bit more. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. See you next time. Bye bye.